Hey friend, welcome to Grounded, the Vestibular Podcast. I'm Dr. Madison Oak, aka the Vertigo Doctor. I am the vestibular physical therapist who is here to help you with all things dizziness, imbalance, and vertigo. In this podcast, we explore the fascinating world of vestibular disorders. Come with me as we dive headfirst into a journey to discover the mysteries of the brain, the inner ear, and the balance mechanisms that keep us grounded. Whether you've been managing dizziness for one day or 25 years, we're going to get real about what it takes to manage dizziness, handle the anxiety cycle, and thrive, not just survive, with your vestibular disorder. First, I want to remind you that this is never medical advice. Remember, this podcast is for informational purposes only and may not be the best fit for you and your personal situation. It shall not be construed as medical advice. The information and education provided here is not intended or implied to supplement or replace professional medical treatment, advice, and or diagnosis. Always check with your own physician, medical professionals, and healthcare team before trying or implementing any information found here. Hello and welcome back to Grounded. Today's win of the week is by Sarah S. Sarah S says, since I spent a lot of time in our living room, I decided to take a minute to make this little collage board so I could look at it during the day. It is filled with 2 vision boards, inspiring quotes, mantras, my daily schedule, some goals I want to achieve over the next few months. Hoping this will help with shifting my mindset. Then it goes on to say, also, I went to Costco for the first time in forever, which I was proud of how well I did. I went to my husband's softball game, which I haven't been to since last year, and had a great time. Afterwards, we went with some friends and grabbed takeout at a pretty busy restaurant, and I actually felt pretty good. We've had a few friends over for a few hours, and it was so nice to host them too. This is fantastic for so many reasons because she's just been a member of group for a couple weeks at this point that I'm reading this to you. And also, these are all things that she has told me in the past are really, really difficult for her and different goals that she has been wanting to achieve. All of that to say, congratulations to Sarah because this is absolutely huge. All of these things in a week, first of all, it's a lot of stuff. But also knowing like, hey, this is the things I struggle with. I'm going to put it in a place where I see it every day, where I can remind myself, hey, this is what I'm working towards. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing to get better. XYZ are all so, so important because the grass is greener where you water it, right? Things are always going to be better when you pay attention to the things that help you to feel better, to visualize something different, to shift your mindset, whatever it is. That is ultimately what's going to make you feel better. So congrats to Sarah. Absolutely obsessed with this win. Obsessed with your vision board. She did attach a picture. I'm not going to share it, but she did attach a picture and both vision boards are fantastic. I also love all of her quotes, all of the things. And then a bunch of people below her were commenting like, oh my gosh, love this idea. I'm going to do this too. So love this. You can also make it way simpler if you want. If you're like, that's too much for me. Someone says that they have Post-it notes around the house. But they're going to join her in the vision board situation. But yeah, absolutely love this. Congrats to Sarah. Let's get into the episode. We are talking about brain fog. Welcome back to Grounded. As always, we are talking about what it's like to live with a vestibular disorder. And one of the most common things that I get asked about is brain fog. What causes brain fog? How do I deal with brain fog? And at the end of the day, brain fog is a symptom of a vestibular disorder, just like dizziness would be. However, it's coming from usually a bunch of different places, and there's not like one silver bullet that can help you with it from one perspective only. It's going to be, just like always, a bunch of different things added all together. And I know that that drives people crazy a lot of the time, but it does get better. But you do need to do a bunch of stuff. So brain fog typically is defined by a cluster of different symptoms, and it's not just like a solid diagnosis, but things like difficulty concentrating, slowed processing, difficulty with word finding, which can also be a prodrome, memory lapses, feeling floaty or disconnected. This is not dementia. This is not laziness. It's not all in your head. Sometimes it's episodic or fluctuating. For other people, it is pretty constant. It just feels like a haze or a fog over your brain. It is not necessarily the same thing as dissociation, which is different. Dissociation is feeling like you're behind a glass panel or having an out of body experience. That is very different than brain fog. So I just don't want to get those two things confused necessarily. Vestibular specific contributors to brain fog are going to be that the brain is constantly working overtime to reconcile conflicting balance, visual, and proprioceptive input. Your brain is working so hard to try and keep you upright when you have a vestibular disorder that it's like, hey, we literally don't have the capacity to do this and also try and try and have the bandwidth for memory, language, processing, other things, because it's, again, working a million miles a minute to help keep you upright. And then we're like, oh my God, but I'm not upright. I'm not doing this right. I'm not. And then you're focusing, right, on all the things that you can't do, which is really, really common, which then provokes anxiety, which then causes even more capacity in your brain to be focused on other things, right? So this is a like recurring cycle. And again, it's not just one thing. Other things are going to be visual dependence and motion sensitivity. So that eye strain and over reliance on your um, vision for balance is a big one. And then the migraine connection as well. Um, Migraine and vestibular migraine itself can bring about brain fog, both between attacks and also during attacks. So don't beat yourself up for this one. It's definitely not your fault. It's definitely a frustrating one, but it is an effect of migraine itself. I would also go as far to say as it's probably for some people a prodrome when they notice like, oh, I'm having more brain fog. I would be willing to bet money that for some people that is a prodrome of their migraine, which is super interesting. Other things like poor sleep, physical and mental fatigue, so not strength training, not exercising, will also have cause more brain fog, sensory avoidance, things like that. And then it can also be a side effect of medication. So vestibular suppressants like Valium, Benadryl, Meclizine, Bonine, all of the things that suppress your vestibular system, those can cause brain fog. So can some antidepressants. It could be a side effect. It is one I see pretty commonly with Topamax. I do not prescribe medication. Again, I am not a medical doctor. That is so not my job. But I do see a connection with that. It doesn't mean if you have Topamax, you're going to have brain fog. That is not what I'm saying whatsoever. But I do see that as a side effect for some people. So that's just something to know. Other things to consider are going to be neuroinflammation, especially if you have other inflammatory conditions. So, if you have an autoimmune disease, if you're dealing with MCAS, if you have a high ANA or CRP, remember you don't need high of those to definitely have inflammation, but those two things can't be tied. And then any sort of like autonomic dysfunction where blood flow and oxygen could be limited going to the brain could also be problematic. So this really goes to show that brain fog is not a brain issue. It is like a whole body condition. And in order to do something about it, we need to do a lot of things combined. So again, not one silver bullet, not going to be one thing, but here are 10 tools that can help that I wanted to give you. We have a longer slideshow slash coaching call on this in Vestibular Group Fit, which as always, you are more than welcome to join. 15% off using the code GROUNDED at any time in order to sign up. It will be applied for your first subscription cycle. Okay. So, what are these what are these 10 things that we can do? First, movement. Yes, moving gently, prioritizing like gentle things at first, starting with 3 minutes. We do this in Vestibular Group Fit. You start with strength training, but like very, very basic. Do one round, do one thing, do 10 bicep curls to start out. There's no reason to overwhelm your body into an attack, but you do need to build muscle, period. If you are a human being on planet Earth, you need to build muscle. I don't care who you are. I don't care what the deal is, you have to, period. That being said, if you have fatigue, it can be like, how in the world do you expect me to add strength training to my day when like everything is so hard? You have to prioritize it over other things. And that's something we can talk about on a different episode, but you do have to do it. We do talk about exactly how to do this in Vestibular Group Fit. We have classes that are specific to this. Again, use code GROUNDED at checkout for 15% off your first subscription cycle. But it's essential. You have to be doing it. Period. Exclamation point. No excuses. Okay. Next, nervous system regulation. Regulating your nervous system is not about feeling calm all the time. I think this is a really common misconception where people are like, well, if I'm going to feel regulated, like, but I have a panic disorder or an anxiety disorder, or I feel anxious really commonly, or but dizziness makes me feel more anxious. Whatever it is not about feeling calm all the time. No human on planet Earth is supposed to feel calm all the time. That is not our job. Our job is to appropriately give ourselves space to process emotions. And when we are feeling panicked, when we are feeling a lot of anxiety, we are able to both process through this, which part of being able to do that is how you were raised. And if you were like, I was not taught to do that, I was taught to like suppress all my emotions, XYZ, which is so common. Getting a counselor or a therapist to help you literally learn how to like name emotions and process through them is for a lot of people going to be step one. But things like vagus nerve stimulation, which does not just have to be with an expensive vagus nerve stimulator. If you heard that thump, it was tugboat. It can be with humming or gargling or whatever, but other grounding practices. I think I said deep breathing already, but especially extending your exhales, not exactly extending your inhales, but your exhales especially, all are super regulating and super helpful. You can try a breathing schedule, different mantras, meditation. There's a million and one ways to do it. Next, we have fueling your brain. Blood sugar dysregulation is one of the most inflammatory things that your body can go through. So if blood sugar is not balanced, and I'm not saying like you can never have that slice of cake, that's not what I'm saying, but what I am saying is that 80 to 90% of the time, your blood sugar needs to be pretty balanced. That means prioritizing protein and fiber at every single snack and meal, every single one. So, avoiding blood sugar dips and spikes, making sure you have hydration and electrolytes, your meals are really balanced, you're avoiding processed food as much as humanly possible. You are eating, I hate the word clean. Like, I don't think that's a good word because that doesn't really mean anything. But literally, like, how many of my foods can I make at home from scratch? And if that is not like possible for me right now, what is the best way that I can go about this with the least amount of processed food possible? And when I say processed food, I'm not meaning like cutting out yogurt and cottage cheese. Those are great sources of protein and super accessible for most people. What I mean is like, can I make sure that sometimes I'm cooking eggs and chicken? And if I'm not, can I buy it from, I don't know, a, the chicken from a place that doesn't process it heavily? It's not like chicken bits. It's like actual chicken breast, if that makes sense. Like the hot bar at Whole Foods is a great one, or some things at Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's has a lot of processed foods. I love Trader Joe's. Don't get me started. Flippin' love it in there. But there's a lot of processed food. So being careful about things like that, especially in the middle of the day, I find people have a really hard time with lunch. Like a really hard time. An easy way to combat this is whenever you're making dinner, set some aside for lunch tomorrow and then heat it up and eat it. Okay, so fueling your brain, regulating your nervous system, and movement slash strength training so far. Sleep strategically, friends. Prioritize your sleep hygiene. I do this. Dr. Jenna made me start doing this in grad school. It changed my life. I will never go back. When I have kids one day, probably I will have to go back, but um, hopefully it's not forever because prioritizing your sleep like you are a toddler, like I know sleep training is a a hot topic in the world of children's lands. I have some friends who are pediatric PTs and like, we don't touch that with a 10-foot pole. But let's just like say we sleep train or put our kids on like a sleep schedule of sorts. Adults need it too. You need to be sleeping the same 7 to 8-ish hours every single night, even on Friday and Saturday night. So staying up till 1 in the morning on Saturday, but then like sleeping at 10 on some days and 8 on other days, your body doesn't know when to set its circadian rhythm. And your circadian rhythm ultimately is what manages cortisol, melatonin, and so many other hormones in your body. Whether or not you know it's happening, you probably don't even know it's happening. So your circadian rhythm needs to be. And if it is not, your body is confused. So please, please, please sleep on a schedule. All right, VRT. This can be helpful. It's on my list of 10, but it can be helpful. It also might not be helpful. It depends on the person. But if you're having trouble with processing a lot of things at once, or multitasking, or being able to like move your body and not feeling safe in that, vestibular rehab therapy can be super, super, super helpful. This does not just mean one size fits all. Everyone needs to be shaking their head around. And that is like the number one problem that I have with people with VRT, with physical therapists who prescribe VRT. I have different episodes you can go reference about that. But ultimately, VRT can be super helpful. It might also not be super helpful depending on, again, who you are. But this can help with habituation and multitasking and kind of pairing your brain and body and doing two things at once, which your brain technically can't, but it can task switch so really quickly. And so task switching could be helpful. Cognitive pacing and taking breaks. So breaking tasks into chunks. I have like a million and one podcasts to do, and I am going to take breaks in between them, right? I'm not going to just like power through and do all 15 at one time. That's not a good idea. Instead, I'm going to get up, walk around, move my body, have a snack, have some food, go outside, play with Tugboat, play with Hugo, talk to my husband, whatever. I got like a million and one things to do. But pacing, taking breaks, resting proactively, and avoiding trying to do 100 things at once, which I think women especially are like programmed to do, like all these things at one time. I'm not doing it. No, absolutely not. So break things into chunks, plan out your day, take breaks, take a walk, move your body in between. All of these things help so much with brain fog. Next, use external supports. I put everything in my Google Calendar. If I have to like, let's say, go to Target, go to Whole Foods, go to Albertsons, I will like time block it out, but the timing matters less to me than the list that it is. So it'll say like Whole Foods, and then my list is in the calendar invite to myself, if that makes sense. You can use whatever calendar you like, but I like this because then I can write like chicken, broccoli, watermelon, electrolytes, lemons, like whatever weird things I need to pick up at the grocery store in that space. So I don't have to like go back and forth or remember to grab a post-it note or whatever. It's just like all in one spot. So use external supports like a planner, checklist, sticky notes, whatever your brain needs to offload tasks, but also to make sure you're getting help getting them done, and use whatever way works for you. Limit screens and scrolling. You guys, the amount of visual overload and visual stimulation and too much dopamine that your brain is provided from scrolling on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, or X, whatever the heck it's called, all of these things is so not natural to your brain. And there are so many studies that like it makes people more anxious, it makes people more depressed, it makes people feel overwhelmed. Even if you don't notice how overwhelmed you feel, I have been like trying to take note of it recently. And the more overwhelmed I feel, the harder time I have closing the app out, which is so crazy because I feel like if I keep scrolling, I'll feel better because there's more dopamine in my brain. But in reality, I just feel worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And like I run my whole business on Instagram. Like I can't not go on Instagram. It's not an option for me, especially at this point in my life. But like it is definitely a thing we need to do less of. So like set yourself limits on social media on your phone. I know every single person's iPhone can do this. You just need to go to the settings and like set how long per day you can allow. You can obviously override it, but how long per day you will allow yourself to go on Instagram, things like that. Super helpful. But limiting screens because visual overload and also like the amount of overstimulation is going to make your brain fog worse, period. Okay, supplements. Please ask your doctor before you take these, obviously, but a couple that I see be really helpful are going to be omega 3s. It's typically around 2,000 milligrams per day, which is a lot, but super helpful. And the other ones I see are CoQ10, but then creatine for brain fog is huge because it basically helps your mitochondria with energy. And remember, mitochondria, powerhouse of the cell, at the end of the day, a lot of brain fog is inflammatory. A lot of inflammation is due to mitochondria. We don't have to go into the science of this, but if you can help out your mitochondria, which again, eating right, sleeping right, hydrating right, all of the things, and creatine can be really, really, really helpful. Typically, the dose of creatine is 3 to 5 grams per day, which most creatines, they're pretty much all the same. My favorite one is, oh God, what's the brand? Live Momentous. I think I have 15% off with code Vertigo Doc, all one word, all caps. They are great. If you just Google Live Momentous creatine, most of them come with a scooper that's 5 grams. So if you just like kind of guesstimate, if you have MCAS, please be careful with this, as always. Microdosing, all of the things. And obviously, please talk to your doctor before you take this. But creatine is one of those things that like helps you think and helps your brain. There's also been a ton of not a ton, but they're coming. Okay, there's a ton of research on creatine. Period. Like it's the most researched supplement, more than magnesium, more than anything else. It does not cause you to gain weight. It will cause you to gain muscle mass, which is awesome if you are strength training. You're not just going to gain muscle without strength training doing anything, period. But it will help you gain muscle if you're also strength training, which is going to help with glucose tolerance and insulin resistance, and therefore brain fog and inflammation, all the hormones, all the things. So it's just like, it's a good one. I'm a fan. I usually take 5 grams a day. I just like put it in a shot glass and put some water in I don't drink. So I like put like a shot's amount in a cup and just like swallow it in one gulp because I don't really mix well. So I don't like to put it in my coffee or my whatever. But apparently people put it in their smoothies, which I don't make a ton of smoothies, but if you are a smoothie person, put it in your smoothies with your protein powder. All right. And then last but not least, give yourself grace. Sometimes brain fog days happen. It is not a personal failure. It is not something to beat yourself up about. But mainly the reason I have this on this list is because the more you beat yourself up about brain fog, the worse your brain fog is going to get. And I know sometimes it feels very blunt and very frustrating, but what I am saying is just let it go sometimes. It's okay. Brain fog is common. It's common outside of vestibular disorders, honestly. It's not just a vestibular thing, clearly. Obviously, vestibular symptoms can make it feel worse or make it be worse, but at the end of the day, you're not broken. Your brain is doing its very best, and you need to remember that your brain and your body are trying its very, 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 very best to help and support you. And sometimes the outcome of that is brain fog. So, those 10 things hopefully are helpful. If you have more questions about them, please let me know on Instagram. I love you, and I will see you next week. Same time, same place. Bye.